palpation can really make or break your treatment. And if you were trained in a TCM school, you may be making mistakes and not even realizing it. Now, I've summarized all the mistakes that I've seen being made over the years by practitioners from around the world into 5 easy categories. These easy fixes are guaranteed to level up your treatment diagnosis and your treatment outcomes. So are you ready to improve your palpation with Japanese acupuncture and moxa techniques? Then let's get practicing. So if you're coming back to this channel, thank you so much for honoring me with your time and energy. And if you're new to this channel, please don't forget to hit the little like and subscribe button. It helps me to fulfill my purpose of spreading Japanese and acupuncture and moxibustion to the world to help bridge Japanese acupuncture and TCM medicine. And also, don't forget to hit that little bell to be notified of new videos that come out every single Friday about Japanese acupuncture and moxa techniques. I'm gonna bet that you were taught palpation in school. I'm also going to bet that you weren't taught in-depth palpation skills and that your teacher wasn't right there commenting on how you could be better at those palpation skills. No teacher feedback means that you probably created some bad habits, and those bad habits have probably continued to you making big mistakes with your clients and you don't even realize it. So why is this even important? Well, palpation is kind of the common denominator for all Japanese acupuncture styles. It also has the power to make or break your treatment. I first learned palpation while I was a kid, learning acupressure massage on family and friends. But I didn't formally learn palpation until I grew up and went to school at ShinKyu University in Tokyo, Japan. In my first year, I had a whole class just on palpation. And it wasn't just palpation, it was palpation of the meridians. So in each class, we would palpate the meridians in order to learn how ki was emitted from those meridians and from the points along it. And not only how it was emitted, but where it was more commonly emitted and the depth at which it was emitted from. We were taught the points rather out of a textbook, but with our hands. We were also taught about the weight palpation should be. Your palpation should not be too light, which is kind of creepy, and it shouldn't be too heavy because palpation is not a massage. This class, combined with real-world experience as an apprentice in Tokyo for several years, combined to teach me that not only can palpation completely change how you diagnose, it also can change your treatment outcomes, and it can change the entire way in which you view the body. And as I said before, it's also the common denominator for every single Japanese acupuncture style I have ever witnessed. Now, through my extensive experience training acupuncturists that were trained outside of Japan, I've noticed a common theme. Almost all of them miss key aspects of their patient's diagnosis because their hands weren't trained properly for palpation. In essence, they're missing key information that could help their treatments and therefore their clients. Now, I've boiled down these mistakes into 5 easy to fix categories. Now, the first mistake is poor posture. Now, if you watch my channel at all or you know anything about me, you know I talk about posture a lot. Posture is one of the foundational key elements to all of Japanese acupuncture. It's probably number 1. Palpation is probably number 2. Posture can even change the results that you find in the pulse. Now, if you're interested in that, make sure to check out this video about how to perfect your pulse diagnosis with your posture. So the standard posture that you should always have is your dantian facing whatever you are treating. And that goes true for palpation or even pulse diagnosis, as I mentioned before. So no matter what you have to do, just make sure that you line up your belly button, or ideally right a few fingers below your belly button, with whatever you're doing. Some exceptions to this are, of course, when you're treating children and if you're able to treat animals, because children and animals can sometimes just be moving all over the place and you have to move with them, and it's hard to keep perfect posture when you do that. Just try to keep as best perfect posture as you can. I always like to tell my students to imagine yourself in that qigong stance with your arms nice and round like you're holding a ball. Good connection to the floor. The second mistake is only touching with part of your hand. Not only does this make you look less confident than you probably are, but it's also a little bit creepy. And you lose a lot of information that the patient's body is trying to tell you because you don't have full hand contact and you're only able to touch a small area of skin. An easy way to fix this is just to have a secure, full hand contact where you're palpating for the most part. An exception to this is, of course, along the center line in between the breasts, especially if you're a male practitioner treating a female. Also on the face, it's a little bit hard, and on the throat, it's also hard because it's a little suffocating. So usually you want to look for 3 things when you're palpating the skin. You want to look for thickness, dexterity, and quality. Now the thickness of the skin is pretty straightforward. Is it really thin or is it really thick? Usually thinner skin usually means deficiency. Thicker skin usually means excess. It's really easy to understand that when you have someone who has eczema, and where they are emitting ki, right, is usually where they have excess heat on their skin. The skin tends to be quite thick. Now, after they've emitted that excess ki and they start to bleed, then the skin gets quite thin and almost paper thin, and then it's easier for them to bleed in those places. That's more of a deficiency. So the second one is dexterity. Dexterity of the skin is literally, is it really strong, supported skin? Does it have luster? Or is the dexterity not so great? Is it more of a deficient dexterity where you feel like you could rip it at any moment? Now, the quality of the skin can be many, many things. Of course, it can be if there's moisture on the skin, if it has good oils, if it's too oily, if they're sweating a lot, if it's really, really dry, if there's a breakout, or if there's an allergic reaction. A lot of those things can be kind of clumped under quality. So another thing you can look at is, of course, how the fascia tissue is. Is the fascia tissue really taut? Is it pulling in any direction? And also, is it deficient? Does it lack that dexterity? And then, of course, the muscle layer, we want to look to see if the sinew channels are working the way they should, the muscle layer. And so, if, are the muscles really taut? Are there ropiness? Is there any balls? Is the muscle layer quite cool or hot? And also for the skin as well, cool or hot, or cold or hot are really important things to look for. Now, the third mistake, and this one is huge, guys, so pay attention. The third mistake is the wrong weight of your hand. So oftentimes I see people doing one of 2 things when they palpate. Either they're way too light and they're almost like floating above the skin. This is really creepy. And again, it makes you look really just not super confident with what you're doing, or it makes people like, I don't know what they're gonna do next, and they don't really like it, right? And for little kids, it can almost feel ticklish, and that's not fun for most kids. So that's one side. The opposite side of the coin is when people push really hard. And so when you push really hard, you can actually see the skin depressing. You gotta remember, palpation is a diagnostic tool. We're trying as much as we can to listen to the body. We're not trying to influence the body. And so when you start massaging on the skin and pushing on the skin, that is going to be, an influential technique on the body, more so than just the weight of your hand. And that's what you really want to go for in palpation. Now, to test this, my teachers always recommended getting into a really full bathtub and allowing your hands to just float on the surface of the bathtub. Now, you want to make sure that your hands don't float above the surface of the water, and you want to make sure that they also don't sink into the bathtub. You just want them to float on the surface. Now, in the States, we tend to have really shallow bathtubs, so this practice is just a little bit harder if you're like me and you're kind of tiny. But if you have a longer torso, it'll work really well because you won't have to have your hands too high up. Either way, I think it's a really, really good practice to do. Another thing that you can do, and I know they do this a lot in Tanioka style shonishin, it's one of the things I was taught in that group, is that you can take a scale and you want to put a piece of paper on the scale, and then you want to keep your hand on the scale and make your hand the weight of that piece of paper. Now that technique is a bit more advanced because that's the weight that you would want for a newborn. Of course, an adult will require a slightly heavier weight for palpation. You have to remember that you're taking into consideration the thickness of their skin as in accordance with the palpation weight. In general, though, just remember the weight of your hand, and you can't go wrong for most patients. Now, the fourth mistake is tension. This is probably the hardest mistake to fix because most people are so in their heads that they don't realize that their hands are kind of turning into gargoyles. Now, to fix this one, it's easiest if you have a mentor, but if you can at least stand in front of a mirror, it'll help. I want you to take a really good deep breath, or several, and then I want you to relax your whole body into a beautiful upright posture. And then you're going to take your hand and lay it on the patient, or you can even lay it on a pillow if you need to, so you can be in front of that mirror. And I want you to see where you're holding tension in your body. So for example, for myself, I tend to hold tension right here and a little bit lower, kind of like right behind my heart. Some people, they tend to hold tension like right up here in their shoulders. Most of the time you kind of know where you're holding tension, and you want to work on releasing that tension and making that posture your go-to so you don't have to think about it. Now, if you want to practice this with a patient, I recommend starting with a family member or a friend. And what you're going to want to do is the same thing that you did in front of the mirror, but instead do this on the patient. And you're going to want to relax your hand completely on the patient and try to get all of the stress out of your hand. And then you're going to ask the patient, okay, how does my hand feel to you? And then I want you to change your posture a little bit. Ask them that again. It's a process that's going to take time, but I know if you focus on it, you'll be able to get this one down pat in no time. So I would love to learn what kind of palpation you were taught in your education. Comment below about what you have been taught and what you would like to learn about palpation to help me structure future videos to help you answer your questions. So the fifth mistake is not listening for the 5 key elements of the body. Those 5 key elements are heat, cold, deficiency, excess, and jaki, or xieqi, or pernicious qi. Learning to listen for these 5 key elements of the body are going to require you to fix the first 4 mistakes I just talked about. Also, I really want you to understand that you're listening for these 5 key elements through the 6 layers of the body. So from the taiyang all the way down to the taiyin. For example, sometimes cold is deep within the body while the surface is quite warm. And so you're going to have to learn through your palpation skills how to discern where exactly those elements are. While I mentioned 5 key mistakes that you can fix to help your palpation become even more amazing, there's probably a lot of other places that you would benefit from having a mentor commenting on your practice and the mistakes that you might be making. Michael Jordan certainly would have never considered playing basketball professionally without a coach, and I don't believe that you should do that with your acupuncture either. You're a professional, and you should have someone constantly coaching you and helping you to become even better at what you're doing. So if the videos here on ShinKyu University are helping you, then I highly encourage you signing up for an interview to see if ShinKyu University's lifetime membership and mentorship can help your practice come to the next level. There's a link in the description box below, and I highly suggest that you hop on there and get an interview for yourself to see where we can take you in the next few years. So I've recently made a video how palpation can help you treat even once wild mustangs go from unhealthy to healthy, even walking with a limp, to starting to gain health and not have to be put down. You can check out that video right here if you're interested in how palpation can universally help so many different creatures on this planet. There's also a link to that video in the description box below. Now, before we finish this video, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to level up your palpation skills so that you can get better results for your clients. Please do give this video a like and subscribe, and hit the little bell to be notified when we put out new videos about Japanese acupuncture and moxibustion techniques every single Friday. And until I see you next time, happy practicing.